Draken is a creature that really exists, or is it just a product of imagination inflated by ancient people? The search for answers has often fallen into deadlock, thinking that the Draken monster will remain in notes and imagination. Then one day Draken entered the real world, not the kind we've seen in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean Part 2, Dead Man's Chest. A monster appeared unexpectedly. The clumsy excavator buckets became the nightmare of all sailors. Is the real-life version of Draken as terrifying as that? Draken in Norwegian is the name of a sea monster, in legend with the appearance of an octopus. In the movies, they are portrayed as a mobile horror, with the ability to destroy everything with a single excavator. Thus, Draken became a nightmare for fishermen in Nordic folklore, known as a sea monster from Norway to Iceland to distant Greenland, with tremendous size. So, if you look from afar, fishermen are easy to mistake it for an island in the middle of the sea. If sailors intend to conquer this island, consider that they have stepped into hell. Boats passing through Draken Sea are determined to become its prey. Its method of attack is to use its excavators to sweep across the ship and crush it like squeezing an orange. It is also said that Draken can eat an entire ship without any difficulty. Indeed, putting effort into crushing a whole ship also requires a corresponding reward. If the above method is not successful, this monster with excavators will swim in a circular motion to create a large water vortex, dragging the sailors and fishermen down to the cold and desolate seabed. However, this sea monster is not only good at destruction. Legend has it that every time Draken appears, it always brings along a batch of fish, something that for it is like trash sticking to it during its movement. If fishermen are daring enough, they can take advantage of it to catch a full batch of fish. However, it could also be a trap of this sea monster, making sailors and fishermen swim into its sea to become Draken's dinner. In legends, Draken is sometimes described as large as an island, and each time it appears, it causes a whole sea area to be turbulent. Experienced fishermen in traditional sea voyages on the Scandinavian peninsula always set sail with the sharpest swords and long fishing hooks to deal with Draken if they are unlucky to be attacked. However, that might only be a solution to prolong survival for a few moments. Draken is hundreds of times larger than the ship. When facing a sea monster like Draken, which is equivalent to a disaster, humans can only utter 2 words of horror if Draken appears. Human weapons are difficult to harm the sea monster, let alone kill it. No one among them can fight it. What they can do is rely on the power of the gods. According to the sailors' tales, this sea monster does not often hunt for prey, but any ship that once enters its sea will receive a death sentence. According to records, it rarely hunts for prey and moves. It only uses its excavators and causes destruction when necessary. In cases of foraging near the sea surface, Draken unintentionally creates deep pits that suck everything on the sea surface into the deep ocean. In addition to the clashes between Draken and the home of the deep sea, mentioned in folklore as battles of sea gods causing numerous violent sea disturbances, affecting the lives of fishermen at sea. This is also the reason for a series of inexplicable shipwrecks. Too many miracles after the fishermen's disaster began to spread their traditional survival experiences, as well as signs that they believed the monster would appear, such as places with many fish swimming massively or suddenly feeling the sea moving with each wave, fish rushing to the sea surface. That is the time when the dragon appears. Whether to avoid it or not depends on luck. In folklore, Draken is a sea monster, only found in the North Atlantic. However, when numerous cases of sunken ships or the disappearance of ship crews increased, the panic began to envelop public opinion, leading to a huge question mark that whether there is a second or third Draken. The suspicion is so, but with certain limitations in terms of science, humans have no way to explain it. People often have some fear of things they cannot see clearly because they do not know what is in front of them. Therefore, they created a psychological fear and gradually imagined things far more miraculous than what humans could think of. Explanation for deep water, vortex phenomena sinking ships. Scientists believe that sailors are confusing with the underground activities of volcanoes, and in their panic, they have fallen into a shared hallucination of imagining a sea monster. However, the Draken we find is not as grandiose, yet it opens a door to a better understanding of this mythical sea creature, the Draken, mentioned in the first edition of the book Systema Naturae in 1735. The book, classifying living organisms, was written by the Swedish botanist and zoologist Dr. Carlos Linnaeus, who placed the Draken in the group of soft-bodied, head-footed animals in the late 1800s. Scientists later published evidence they believed would prove the existence of this gigantic sea monster. In 1857, a Danish naturalist named Japanese discovered a giant squid washed ashore in Denmark. Using the squid's beak for reconstruction, he concluded it was a new species named actus, meaning giant squid in Latin. This squid was also the prototype for the Draken in the ancient mythology narrative, and through the lens of scientific scrutiny, the Draken from folklore stepped into reality. Since then, the field of marine biology has been actively researching these marine creatures. However, scientists are skeptical about the existence of a squid of such colossal size. Despite hundreds of years of research on giant squids, Architeuthis, one of the representatives of the group, is the largest found in the wild, measuring about 13 meters with oversized tentacles and weighing nearly a ton. In contrast, giant squids are only around 10 meters in length. In 2011, Mark, a biologist from Mount Holyoke College in the United States, claimed to have found signs proving the existence of Draken while studying fossils of prehistoric giant marine lizards. Mark discovered evidence of a Draken measuring up to 30 meters in length. The fossils mentioned were of a marine lizard with peculiar markings on its body, resembling the suckers of a monster similar to Draken. The tilted fossilized bones provided clues supporting the existence of a dragon, though Professor Mark faced criticism. Despite that, the paleontologist at Mount Holyoke in Massachusetts presented additional evidence to reinforce his argument. He argued that unusual marks on the fossilized bones of the marine lizard, dated around 200 to 250 million years ago, indicated injuries and displacement caused by an external force equivalent to the tentacles of a giant squid. Immediately, he directed suspicion towards the Draken. Alongside the marine lizard fossil, he also found nearby fossils of a part identified as the beak of a giant squid, along with numerous bones bearing marks of suckers. It seemed to further support Professor Mark's hypothesis. Based on the arrangement of the bones and the position of the suckers, Professor Mark speculated that the marine lizard was either drowned or had its neck constricted by tentacles, leading to suffocation. However, scientists still consider this hypothesis unconvincing. There are still many doubts about explanations related to giant squids. Therefore, the story of the sea monster Draken needs a more reasonable explanation. The Draken from folklore, compared to what scientists have found, still presents a considerable gap. To this day, the presence of the sea monster named Draken remains an open question awaiting clarification. The vast and endless deep sea might hide places where creatures like Draken still peacefully slumber, awaiting the day of awakening. If that day truly comes, we will have to see if it resembles what filmmakers have depicted.